morning, everyone. Welcome to Creative Design Strategies. And I'll go over the basic overview of the presentation, and I'll talk a little bit about myself afterwards. I'm going to go over some basic elements of design that affect your site. And then at the end, I've asked for a couple of volunteers to go showcase some of their sites, and then we can, as a group, talk about what elements affect their site, how can we change them, or what might need to be changed, right? So, first, before I begin, who is this guy? This is Matt. That's the best rendition I could find of me. Of a recent photo, I don't know. I am a web designer. I've been with Affiniscape for almost a year. I've been designing websites for about 3. I've had the ponytail for maybe, I don't know, 4, I guess. My boss is back there. He keeps trying to get me to change it. That's Matthew Cunningham right there. Say hi. All right. Again, I kind of like to have some interactivity with the people coming in here, so you're not just listening to me, but you're also talking to other people. Have a seat, yeah. So, either you agree or disagree. No right or wrong answers, really. So, kind of talk with the person next to you or someone behind you. Design, in general, makes my site look pretty. What do you guys think? I agree. Everyone's shaking their head. Yeah, okay. I think I might have some skeptics back there. Anybody? No skeptics? All right. Yes. Sure. What do you Why is it dangerous? Over design. That's true. And it gets complicated, right? That's true. Early on, when I first started out, I was looking for that elusive pretty. And I ended up making something that had nothing to do with what my clients needed or what the users needed in the end. So my issue with this, I know I said there's no wrong answers, but I'm going to backstep a little bit. Right? Pretty is a hard word to get. It's a very subjective term. And my sense of what pretty is probably different than most of the people in this room right here. And the other dangerous thing is when you go for pretty, you might end up alienating a lot of your users, right? All right. Again, last one. Design helps make my site functional and easy to use. I agree. There you go. Anyone? Any skeptics? Any questions? Right? No? So for design, when I do my consultations, when I talk to partners or clients, I try to get beyond that mystical definition of what design is. There's a lot of people feel design is pretty, design is expensive, design is high class, and so on. But really what we're looking for a website is something that's functional, it communicates your message, and it's easy to use for your users. That's what all this is about. So the elements that we're going to talk about, oh yeah, one more thing. I don't know, think about design. Anybody? All right. Okay, that's my challenge today, right? I want to talk about these. I know I have 5 here, but they're basically 4 key things. And I'll briefly discuss images at the end that you can keep in mind when you're looking at your site, right? When you talk to your designer lady, if you're going to do a redesign, if you're going to talk to some of your webmasters, or if you are the webmaster, when you approach your site, these are some of the things to consider when you add content or change content. All right, the logo. Let's do this. Okay. So don't look at me, but kind of look to the person next to you and say, look at that logo, and just kind of say your first reaction. I love it. I don't love it. What are they? It's busy. Pixelated, faded. Food and dental. There you go. Okay. Okay. You want to go to the dentist one or this one? The dental spa right there. Okay, so what I'm hearing is the first initial reactions. Busy, it's pixelated, what are they? I'm not too sure what's going on. I see a beefed up waiter serving a tooth to you. And so really with the logo, what this is doing is probably 5 or 6 of the things you want to avoid with a logo. It's confusing you, right? And you don't want that from a user. You want a user to look at your logo and immediately understand what you're doing or who you are and have some kind of emotional recognition. I could spend a long time picking these apart. Yeah, the waiter is beefed up. That's crazy, right? Another one right here, there's a lot going on with this logo as far as colors. Someone here decided to flip it and mirror it and make the user read it upside down too. Right? So it's hard. You really want to avoid that. Really, with logos, the key is simplicity. These are some I pulled off of kind of an inspiration site. Logos that are very effective, very useful. You may not know these, that's okay. These are for smaller companies. But some of the things with simplicity help your users get a bond with who you are. I'll briefly go back. Oftentimes, the trappings of designing a logo, you look to put something in there that shows, this is what we do, we're a tanning salon. You got to know that through this. So it's kind of like hitting your users over the head with who you are. You don't have to do that. In here, for example, with red key, they use some sort of symbolism, red, right? And a key, right? There you go. But again, really what it is try to connect to your audience, right? They don't sell keys, right? But they're actually a film company, right? And so this is a part of their message, but in the end, you're going to use the rest of your site, the rest of your social media, the rest of your marketing to kind of connect this to what they do, right? And what you're aiming for is simplicity, you're aiming for a connection, but you're also aiming for something that's a little, or close to timelessness, I think is the word, right? So if you think of this one, Chase, yeah, my dad used to work for Chase, so yeah, all his shirts and so on and so on. But they may have done a kind of revamping of their logo in the past, but if it was, it's really subtle, right? But you look at that, you don't need to read the word, you don't need to see money on it, you don't need to see the color green. It's like, that's Chase. I love him or I hate him, you know, right? So hopefully you love him, right? Same thing with Nike and Fender. Fender, you know, they make guitars or instruments. I think they make amps too, but there's nothing on there that says, there's no guitar slapping you on the head and say, hey, we make guitars, buy our guitars, right? So it's just something that's, again, very simple. They use the font that's very unique, or typeface, excuse me, to say, okay, they look at it and immediately recognize it, right? CBS right here, iconic, yeah. They're, I think, one of the first to really think about their brand and kind of have that pervasively throughout all of their PR, their commercials, on their TV, and so on and so on. So that's what you're aiming for. With the other ones, if I could do one more critique, you kind of want to stay away with trends as well. A color might be a trend, and I'll talk about color a little bit later. Certain fonts might be trends, and things will quickly date a logo if you stick to, you say, hey, this trend is hot right now, I want to use it on my logo. Okay. The other thing with logo is to put color in the background. Don't worry about it right now. You want your logo to be scalable. What's scalable mean?
Versatile.
Versatile. For example, who said that? Did you? Okay, sorry. What do you mean by versatile?
Well, it can have different functionality. It's same purpose, same message, same brandability. They look at it, they see it, but you can use it
in different spots, for example. So yeah, it's not only just on your website. You can have it on your letterhead, your business cards, and so on. So that's where color comes in. When I first started out in school, they kept telling me this, but then when I think I first designed my logo, I was like doing all the mistakes, put color in it, and then my client came back to me and he was like, well, when I print it, it's going to cost me $1 million. I was like, okay, same sort of thing. And with this, Nike's been able to fashion this where they could change that color and use it and kind of market it towards slightly different audiences. So for example, a red, or I've seen it in pink, I've seen it in colors that might be for like a different age or a different gender group. So again, keeps it versatile, right? All right. Color, color, color. Okay, again, with the people who are next to you or behind you or whatever, what are you looking at? How do you feel? What's going on here? In your face, ugly. Overwhelming.
sensory overload.
Yes. Too much, too busy, overwhelming, right? What is this anyway? You don't know, right? You don't know. You have this color thing, and you're like, how am I supposed to use it, right? Okay, ready? This is the Yale School of Art website.
That's for real?
It's for real. It's an actual site. Someone pointed out to me, I think someone tweeted it to me, I say in some web design circles, and they kind of say, okay, these are sites to avoid, right? And so Yale School of Art, I get it, this is art, and they're trying to do something different, but it's also their website. So you have issues with color. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know where to go. You don't know what to read. You probably leave the site with a headache, right? You know, the one thing what this screenshot doesn't show you is that this is actually an animated GIF. There you go, right? So there's a lot of other things to avoid right here. I know with the logo, a lot of times when I work with associations, they have colors that are mandated or decided somehow. They had a designer back in the day, and this is our brand and so on, especially with the national one that mandates the regional ones. So my challenge as a designer is to think of how to use that color to make your site more usable. And I guess when you take over the site as the content webmaster, then you have to kind of follow those rules as well. So for example, this one right here, they've used the color to kind of help draw your eye to certain things, right? So where's our eye going first? The iPad, okay, we got the blue, all right. And then where do we want to go after that?
Outwards.
You say outwards, like here? Oh, how it works, excuse me, yeah, okay. Or is that how it works? Oh, here we go. Oh, very nice. Oh, yeah, that is bigger. That's true. Okay. I tried to test it on some audiences. Most people, they go to Book It Now or they go to the iPad. But you do, I mean, you are going to some key spots. That's true, right? 29 euros a day. Hey, rent your iPad. That's pretty good, right? And it's also used as well, like, for example, in your headings right here. So this, for example, is the most important thing on the page. For example, explains the whole page. And you want to go to here, or here, and here, right? So it's very clear you're done. Color, what it does with usability is helps people scan really quickly. You know, I think you've heard this before. People don't want to go to a site and read. Right? I don't. You don't have that time, really. Another thing with color, we're just working with blue and black and white, but we can work with contrast as well, right? So again, where do our eyes go to? This one. The green, okay. So you got green first, and then red, right? You're going back and forth, okay? So when a user, they see this, okay, quickly read features, and then they go view a project. Easy, right? And then for my eye, I kind of go down here and then back up again. All right. Okay. Sometimes my partners or our partners say to us, well, Matt, that's nice and dandy. You can use the red as an accent color, but what if all we have is red, okay? So this is one site where, okay, the red is the dominant color, but we still have to kind of work with something, right? How does this site still work? You're not quite confused. I don't hear a gas of, oh my God, but the white, there you go. You're still working with the contrast right here. And you still see, again, the main points right here in white, and I would still click here as well, right? So that's really your ultimate goal with color is contrast, okay? This isn't, I wouldn't say, the most ideal solution, but if you have to do it, we do it this way, right? Okay. So typography. What's typography? Your fonts, okay. Anything else? Bless you. Okay, so there's actually a bunch to typography, and it's something I'm still kind of learning myself. I often overlooked it when I first started studying web design, but there's a lot you can think of. So, for example, typeface. What's a typeface? Font? Type sales? Did someone know what a typeface was? No? Okay, typeface is when you design certain letters that go for a title or for a logo. Before we were looking at Fender, right? That's a particular typeface, and they just designed it for those letters right there, right? And if the client likes that typeface, like, hey, can we use this for the whole alphabet? They go ahead and they design it for the entire alphabet, the numbers, and the little glyphs or the symbols that go with that. And that's the whole font there. Helvetica is a good one. It's pretty neutral, often used as well. Type styles. is when you use the, I guess, further style it for italics and then for bold, for the most part. And then I'll get into how those styles work as well. All right, let's see. So I think we have a lot of webmasters here, and some of the elements that you control the most, I think, is putting in content. And so one easy way to think of it is how your fonts and your type styles, or types of fonts and type styles, affect how people read it, right? So for me, when I design a site and give it to the partner to look at, a lot of the content, I keep it in sans serif, which is right up there. It's very neutral and easy to read. So again, we try to stay away from a lot of content, but you do at least have to put a paragraph in here or a paragraph there, and users do have to read it from time to time. So to make it as easy as possible for them on the screen, sans serif, right? Serif, if you notice the difference, what's the difference between these two right here? The feet, yeah. There's a term for that. I'm forgetting it right now, but these little things right here that pop out. And with sans serif, sans, we know it takes it out right here. You could put this in the content. I've heard different studies back and forth, which one's easier to read for a newspaper, which one's easier to read for the screen. I often tend to lean towards this. I've heard this a lot from a lot of my mentors, that this is easier on the screen. This seems to be easier on a newspaper. I think we're used to seeing it on paper. I'm not too sure why. But you can still use this on your site, right? Oftentimes what I do is kind of mix it a little bit. This I would put on as a title, right? If it kind of communicates who you are. A lot of times for, I guess, bar associations, more classic look, they would use it on a title, so it's the largest thing on the site, and then the rest of the content's in sans serif. All right. So you can use your font styles to communicate certain things. You could call it, we call it a call to action, right? So, but you have to use it sparingly, of course. For example, sans serif italics, you mean go. It's kind of like a, hurry up, you gotta do this now. Sign up now, membership drive, limited time, and so on, right? Bold is a great one for attention. I would use it kind of like, kind of a similar message. Limited time, they have a discount to sign up, and so on, right? The thing to avoid, and maybe we could see this later on, is the kind of overuse of it. So when you overuse it, of course, overuse it, what happens, it kind of dilutes the message, right? So probably once or twice on the page, that's where I would stick to. All right. So size, color, contrast. This is a sample of one of our subpages for our templates. And who could give me some initial thoughts on how this is organized? What do you see here?
Headings, subheadings, bullets, left navigation.
Right. So headings, subheadings, right? And bullets, left navigation. So the headings, right? The biggest one you put right here. And in the color that's, let's say, of the association. If this was your logo, we try to match that right here. And the largest one is also the same color. Why is that the largest one, and why is it at the top? What the page is about, right? So use it only once and leave it at the top. And what I've seen a lot is where it's used often throughout the page, and it kind of, again, dilutes the message, dilutes what's the most important thing. And then going down for the second most important, and bullet points here, this is where you want them to scan, and so on and so on. All right. Okay. Most of the time when we design a page for you, we try to keep it to 3 fonts or less. But with your editor, you have the choice, I think, of different fonts if you want to do it. This is where I caution you, of your webmasters, to try to avoid that. When you have 3, let's say, how does that help you? I don't know.
It helps you know what's the subordinates.
Helps you know the hierarchy or the subordinate,
yeah.
right? Okay. that's one way. So for example, here they have it in the serif font up here. It's in caps, and we know where we want to go to. Of course, they use the arrow as well, right? They also put this in a script font right here. And then they put this in a sans serif right here. This, of course, yeah, you're right about hierarchy. Also, there's some contrast here. So if this was, let's say, in a similar font, it kind of gets muddled together, right? So you can use different fonts to bring different messages apart, right? Same thing here. If these were all in the same font, it'd be a little bit harder for me to read it. And I wouldn't know, okay, which one's more important. They actually, this one, they kind of use it in different ways. Okay, maybe I want to look here, I want to sign up for free, or I want to try something new or something. Right? But they definitely use it as a contrasting tool right here. And again, one thing with usability, color, contrast is a good thing. Typography, right? And how you use your type styles or your fonts, also a great way for contrast. Easier, when it becomes a lot easier for your users. All right. Let's see. Ooh, who said that? Right, so the reaction, that's natural, of course. Display fonts are getting more and more easy to use, and they use it for your site and even to put it into your content. Back in the day, we used to make that in Photoshop, for example, make it an image, and then it would only be one image. You couldn't reproduce it, right? But since this is a Google font, for webmasters who've used it before, you could actually embed it in your site and use it. However, is it a good idea? No, right? Because you can't read it, readability, right? I would choose definitely readability over style. Sans serif, easy to read, very neutral, have them read it. If you look at that, I don't know what he's talking about, you know, and then I'll stop reading or maybe leave the site with a sort of bad taste in my mouth. What's that? It's going to be wizards, right? Yeah, I don't know where that's from. But what it does, though, you do get more flexibility, but then keep these sort of fonts for the styles and for your headings, where you want their eyes to go first, right? All right, balance. Like that picture? Yeah, all right. I didn't make it. We talk about balance a lot. We also kind of instruct the partners who are the webmasters to kind of think about balance. But what does that mean, essentially? Symmetrical balance. What's going on with this image right here? It's a mirror image, yeah. So your left is balanced with your right. This clown face equals this clown face, and then it's one whole clown face right there, right? What it does with your eye is you're looking at, for example, if this is a website, the whole page, okay? So the opposite would be, oh, sorry, let me stay here. Okay, so for example, if you're looking at a site, I know there's some issues here that might contradict what I talked about before, but forget that, right? We're just looking at the balance. Here's your logo in the middle, content, balance with the image, and then here are your 4 images right here, looking at the whole thing. Ideally, I would aim for this over anything else. You could do the opposite, but you have to kind of know what you're doing and have a reason to do it, right? So I'll show you another option. What's going on with this? I know, who put that big box there, right? So now it's off balance. Asymmetrical balance, again, it's not a total no-no, but it's something to avoid if you're not too sure how you're doing it. So for example, this site right here is asymmetrical, right? What's going on with your eye? It's going to the jar. Okay. So again, you can do it, but do you want to do it, right? So I like this site. It's pretty, and I keep going to that magical rock with the magical butterflies in the jar. But is this okay? Ideally, what are we looking at?
Not looking at the message.
There you go. You don't know what the message is. I forgot these guys are actually creative services. Not us, right? Somebody else. And we don't know really what their products are, or we don't know what their portfolio is. You keep going back to the jar, and I would be careful with that. The site I showed you before, the iPad, I'm trying to think if that's symmetrical or not, but you could, in theory, put the iPad there, but have a call to action as well. So if you want them to click here first, that's what you do. If this is just a useless jar, then I would kind of question the point of this. All right. So I mentioned before, image is a huge topic. And I don't have enough time in this presentation to talk about images, but I have a presentation right after this. They like to put me back to back. I don't know, conference, right? Right. So I'm going to be in the other Citadel room over there with Carrie Grooms. We're going to be talking about images as far as the design side, and then she'll be talking about images as far as putting them into your website. So that's could be a part 2, right? But a real basic with images and sizes. I know we get these calls a lot and I get a lot of questions. Most of the time we get these 2 images right here. I think what you're going to be updating would be your rotating marketing banner, or without text, or rotating marketing banner with text. So I put it up here. This is about 630 pixels. This is kind of the space you're looking for. This is an example. And then this one right here, this is the one with text. It's basically cuts it in half, and it's 350 pixels right here wide. So those are some of the basics right there. If you have other questions, I know some rotating marketing banners are different, or maybe your needs might be different. You could ask me afterwards, right? I'll be free after the next presentation, or you'll see me around I1, and I can talk to you about that. Now, let's see, it's just information on that. That one starts at 11:40. Did I get that time right? It's 11:20? 11:20, okay. Minus 20 minutes, right? At the other Citadel. Okay, so I left this last part open because I wanted to see if I could use you guys as a group. And I gave you some knowledge, and let's see if we can use it, right? Before I give you the test, before I give you the quiz, or the activity, right? What are some of the elements we talked about today? Balance, right? Color, logo, typography. Okay, let's stay with that, right? So you got 4 things to think about. Images, don't worry about it for now. And I asked some volunteers, thank you for volunteering your site, if we could kind of look over them and give our feedback, right? So again, get comfortable with the person next to you so you can kind of talk about it. But some guidelines for feedback to keep it very nice is, one, first start with what works for you on the site, because you don't always want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You do redo a site, but you change the things that need to be changed, right? So what works for you on the current site, and then what needs a little tweaking, what needs to be changed, right? Okay. Actually, let's start with this one right here, Texas Pharmacy Association. So I'll give you a minute or 2 to talk with the person next to you. Let me know what you think. We got the logo, typography, color, balance. Excuse me. Put all in that.
I think that has to do with the frame. I'm sure whether
It's supposed to be a rotating marketing banner up there?
It's supposed to be a
Sponsor box, that's it, yeah. That's what's missing, okay.
Go to a subpage.
Okay. Something's not showing up here? Yeah. Yeah, I know there's something going on here. Okay. Sponsor box, right? Or sponsor tower. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to give you 1 more minute with the home page, but then I'm going to go to a sub page. Patients in public?
I look at their site a lot.
Okay. Where is that under?
Go to the Seward Global National.
Uh-huh. Oh, here we go. Yeah, okay.
If they change. See, they've actually changed.
Huh. Microsite. Okay. Yeah.
And then I think some page date is 11. Yeah.
It's left right there.
No, I think it's back right here.
Okay.
There it is.
Feel a little discombobulated.
If you go under like education or communication, under education.
Okay.
The next one.
Well,
Slow.
It is a little slow. I think maybe the wireless had a rough night too. Okay, some thoughts? Let's start with color. Nice. You like it?
The orange on the gray is a little hard. The orange font.
The orange on the gray right here. Okay.
Not enough contrast.
Not enough contrast, there you go. Okay, so let's say overall the color right here, that's nice right here. These kind of work as far as the contrast and usability and readability. But right here we have issues with contrast. Okay, that's a good one. All right, balance?
Well, if you go back to the home page, it's almost as if they have too many tabs from home all the way to special initiatives that allows too much white space on the right side of the screen.
There's supposed to be
But I didn't know
Yeah.
sponsor box there.
Okay. There is supposed to be a rotating sponsor tower or a sponsor box up here that I think for some reason is not loading. I'm not too sure why. I'll figure that out. We might have more work for ourselves. Right? Let's see.
I don't think it doesn't align.
Oh, like here and here.
Yeah, that
It's
doesn't.
an alignment issue. Okay, good.
That's
Okay.
probably because of the heading they used.
Okay. All right.
And what about a search function?
Search function. Yeah, what is that? Where is the search function? Okay, yeah.
Site.
I don't see
I think
it.
your ad block is blocked.
Your ad block.
My ad block's blocking it?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a block thing.
Yeah, I think it blocked it, but sorry, I got a secure computer. Right, okay. Ah, there you go. Okay. Yeah, there is an element that I didn't talk about so much, but more or less trying to hit everything you need in this area right here. And that kind of goes into the area as far as writing copy or writing enough, just enough to get them what they need so they don't have to scroll. Because oftentimes what ends up here, you don't have time to look at it. You don't have time to scroll. It often gets overlooked. All right. Typography? Easy. Yeah, very clean. Right here, sans serif, very easy to read. I think how to use the side right here. I know this is exactly where I need to read first in that area. I said the biggest thing I think is just this contrast right here. Okay.
Just one other little fun thing to do is
Yeah.
you cover up the RX experts. Can you tell what they do?
Kind of with your eye.
Right.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. So a lot of times associations, or not just associations, but websites depend on the logo. But the user needs more cues than the logo, right? So you have, here they have the symbols right here, they of course got this right here, and this is a good indication of as far as what they do. All right, let me go on to the next one. Okay, again, take a couple minutes, talk to the person next to you. First, find out what's working for you, and then talk about what they might need to change. There's open seats up front. Right.
Yeah.
You mean like with the arrow right there and in the background behind that blue?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then on the right side, it's like a blue background too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right there. Okay. So then it could be contrast issues. Okay.
And then the welcome blue is different than the rest of them.
Blue, 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 and then which blue am I looking at?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. That's a good comment. That's a good comment. Yeah. Because it's like you're trusting money to these people, right? Okay. All right. Let's first start out with what's working. You like the arrows, okay.
Yeah, the logos.
Like the logos, the arrows are like, here we go, we're looking at business solutions. And this one right here. Okay. All right. Anything else?
I like the little pop color.
What are we looking at?
The other logo, Partnering for Progress.
Yeah.
Partnering for Progress. Ooh, okay.
Pop means
I will talk about this a little bit later. I know, right? Okay. The blue is nice. Okay.
But it seems clean,
Uh.
and it's not loaded with text, so it's easy to see, certain points what you're looking for fast.
So not overloaded. You can kind of see where it's cut up a little bit, so as far as sections, right? I heard some contrasting things about the colors in the blues, right? So did someone say they like the blues, right? And then I heard the opposite.
I don't like that blue, the Welcome to Business Solutions is a different shade of
There you
blue.
go.
Like
Okay.
a different color.
Right.
Gray.
Okay. So too many blues. I think that's kind of, if I could sum up. You got blue, 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 and then a different kind of blue, blue, a lot of blues over here. And so they do want this to stand out. They did use blue. It doesn't stand out enough, I think, is the thing, right? Yeah, I know your reaction's like, I don't know, I'm looking at it, I don't like it. But in the end, you want contrast. You more or less want a color that would stand out a little bit from blue. You can go simple. You can go with black even, right?
Make it bigger, make it full.
Right. And then what I would do is kind of move it over here a little bit, and you can make it bigger. I didn't talk too much about it, but as far as alignment, when it gets hard to read, like I'm looking here and I'm looking here and so on, it's a little jarring, right? So kind of align that this way. I mean, I know I said before that you don't want to read it like a book, but you still kind of have those tendencies. Everything's aligned to the left, and you're reading from left to right. Pictures. Right. So yeah, the pictures, again, because pictures are so personal, this is what I'll talk about a little bit later. You got to be a little careful about what you put up here, right? How are you communicating? What are your pictures actually communicating? And the other thing right here, I know this is a partner logo, and it drew your eye there, right? And you like that color. This is the danger. You have all blue here, and then this is the contrast right here. So your eye goes here, and then you're kind of missing the rest of the site, right? That's what you need to look out for. It's something I suggest. We don't always have the freedom to do it. It depends on how the sponsors have control. But if you could kind of put this in a grayscale, and if the logo is strong enough, it would communicate the same message. These guys are sponsors, but it's not distracting your eye. If you can do that. Yeah. Did you have a comment? Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like all the different fonts and alignment in that far right box.
This one right here.
Yeah, it's distracting. They should all look the same.
There you go. Okay, so this is when you kind of use different fonts and different font styles. Again, with the alignment, the tendency is to put everything in the center. And if you're designing in a box, let's say this is the only thing you're going to look at, fine, that looks good enough, right? But oftentimes, our mistake is we put it all together, everything's in the center, and then you're struggling trying to read everything. That's the hard part right there. I agree. Okay. Anything else?
It's obvious that it's an older template. So there's no login feature,
Right.
there's no search feature.
Okay.
It's got the kind of static left-hand nav
Right.
that just is now dead white space
Mm.
as the site grows
Right.
vertically. I mean, but it's
Yeah.
just because it's an older template.
Okay. Okay. All right. Can I go to Matthew first, and I'll go to you next? Go ahead.
What's the main call of action? What am I
What's
supposed to do?
What's the main call of action? What are you supposed to do?
Welcome.
I think welcome, right? No. You probably want something else, in a sense, to make it more functional. You need a bigger call to action. You want them to click here, but this is kind of small, right? Okay. Yes?
Is there a rule on using the word click here versus just having a hyperlink? So, I mean, do you need that second sentence? Can you just do 2012 program and that be a hyperlink?
Okay. All right. I think some schools have thought, maybe an older school thought that people command their user click here, right? But what we're trying to go closer to, and I think it's easier for the user to understand, is maybe having a link that describes what they're clicking on. Did you say you could just have this and have them click on it? Yeah.
I mean, I like to do that. I just wonder if that is policy enough. Because I do want them to click here, but I mean, it's hyperlinked.
Right.
I think
that's a good point. What I would do is actually make this a link, and then I would put a little description here, and then put click here to register, click here to be a part of this. Matthew.
So it's also good SEO juice.
Yeah.
So Google will actually index the actual anchor text with that. So it'll see the hyperlink being 2012 partner program. It really should be whatever the partner program is. It'd probably be more description in the text, the better, especially if it's a hyperlink. So the learn more, the click here's, those aren't as descriptive enough. So it's best to put either, if you're going to do click here, you can actually go into the HTML and put the title of what that is, and that will help from the SEO perspective as well.
Okay. Yes.
And for people who are wanting accessibility and 501 compliance, I know that we have a lot of blind users in our group, and what they'll see, they can see all the links on the page, and if you use click here, click here, click here,
it doesn't mean it.
They'll do their links list, and that's what it'll pull up for them.
Okay.
And so they won't know what all the click here's mean. So putting that descriptive text is.
It means more to them. Makes it more usable. Okay.
And they also say that you can overuse click here.
Yes.
If you do analytics on your site, if you see how many times it's there, it's...
Google doesn't like it. Brings it down, right? Okay, that's a good point. All right, let me do one more. Okay. Give you a couple minutes. Talk with the person next to you. What works? What you think could be changed? Probably, I'll end with this. I don't know. So when we're doing the Q&A, I don't know if you want to pass that out. Thanks, man. Oh yeah, okay, your legs. Okay. Oh, look up here.
I'll blame the camera. Don't give me that.
Which is interesting.
Okay, so what's working for you? The
Logo in the middle.
The logo in the middle. Kind of know this is the 20th anniversary, and okay, all right. Anything else?
Well, there's a definite call to action. Sign up today and save the new partnership program.
Where are you looking? Oh, here you go. Okay. There is a call to action for sure, but if I were to add a critique on top of that, it's a little small.
Yeah, a little small.
I disagree about the logos. I think if it's your 20-year, go ahead and replace maybe the logo with the banner up top, just for the year.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know which is their logo, though.
Right.
A little different. That is.
I think one thing that we try to avoid when we put together sites, when you put one logo next to another logo and they're so similar, where's your eye going? And then what's the most important one? That's a good point right there for sure. The other thing, if they are going to replace it, maybe they might be thinking of it as a redesign. Again, that rule with logos, look for something that could be a little more timeless, because this will end after the year, right? So what would continue on for the next, let's say, 20 years. Okay, so some things, while we're on this track, what do you think they could change?
A little bit more color.
A little bit more color, right? So we got a lot of blue, a little bit of gray. Bless you.
That top bar, the home, needs to, or the dead space.
This one right here. You would think it'd be better over that way. Okay, that's true. Yeah, kind of goes in.
I don't understand the image, what that has to do with sign. It looks like wires.
Okay. Okay, good point. Yeah. So again, I'll talk about this in my next session. The images are big. Are they helping you communicate what you're doing, or are they distracting you, right? So this seems like it's distracting a little bit. Okay. A little bit more colors. So while we're on that topic of colors, I didn't go into color theory, and it's a little bit of a risky thing to talk about, but what can you use as far as colors to add a little more life to this?
You have a complementary color.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if you have a blue, then maybe an orange or a green would look well with that.
Mm-hmm. There you go, right? Something that, let's stay with complementary. So something that's, let's say, for example, across the color spectrum. We have blue right here, which is cool, and then the orange, which is warm. You could use that for your links right here. It helps your call to action. You could also use it for a header right here if you like. I mean, they could even use blue and make this larger, right? So people can look at that or find it easier. I had a comment about this gray box. Someone said something, what's that gray box for? Is that right? Yeah, it seems random. In my mind, it does kind of help me. I was like, okay, they're talking about scholarship winners, but I'm trying to think what that means for the rest of the site, right? And it's still competing with this right here. So which one's more important? I would say this might be a little more important, or is this more important? So there's some confusion as far as the hierarchy on the home page. Okay.
What's below? What's below?
Mm-hmm. We can take a look at that. No. Oh. Okay.
I think the box makes more sense after you get down farther.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It's a sidebar.
Right. It ends up being the sidebar, the column from, that's true. I think some of the initial reaction is that it's a lot to scroll down to, and it's your home page. And really what you want the home page is to be your first impression. And if you put information down at the bottom, it's probably going to get lost. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Color.
Right. The sponsors right here. Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
It also looks like the main section is maybe like updates from the association, but I don't know how timely they are, like when they were last posted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, almost like a newsletter, almost like a blog, right? Yeah. Definitely.
Or like Matthew said earlier, if you just cover up the logos, you're not really sure what the site is all about.
Yeah, that's a good point. And one more comment about the logo, if you're going to update. I think this sort of look right here was in style. I'm not too sure when. Sorry, I didn't mean that to be me, but I think AT&T, for example, did that maybe when MCI was still in business. They had that sort of look to the label. So definitely, if you're looking to redo your logo, this is something to stay away from the style that is now already out of date and probably is not as timeless as you want it to be. Right. Let me stop here. It gives me some extra time for Q&A. About 6 minutes. Does anyone have any extra questions while they're here, or they want to showcase the site, or? Yeah, go ahead.
I have just maybe a general question. I have trouble with buttons. I want to make colorful buttons on my website.
Right.
And so I make little text boxes, make them all cute in Word, attach them in a PDF, make them into a JPEG. They never show up as clear as an actual button does on anybody else's website. Does anyone have a website they use for buttons, or
maybe an easy way to make buttons? I think as a designer, when I approach it that way, I make them in Photoshop, and that's not always available to most people. But I know where you're coming from. You say you're starting out in Word, you make it a text box in Word, and you in a PDF, and make it into a JPEG. Yes. So what happens when you go from those programs onto the web? The way you view it in Word, the colors won't translate necessarily to your web page. It's not necessarily the same thing. And so an easy way to make buttons minus a graphic designer. Yes?
So there is, we could give you a one-time piece of CSS code that will make a button.
Okay.
And then you'll have to go, when you make the link, you'll just have to go into the HTML and assign it a class. And that class will pull the HTML and CSS and create the button for you.
Okay.
It's literally a 10, 15-minute little thing we could do.
Yeah.
I think there's a CSS button. If you go to CSS buttons or Google CSS buttons, there's probably some code that you could we could use to create one for you if you want to create a button.
Just pull up the text and change that every time.
Yeah, so it'll put the button around that text.
Right.
I mean, it is a little complicated. Either using you ideally would want to use a text and not a graphic button, just so you get the link juice. And for screen readers as well, you can see what the link is. So graphics tend to be a little
not
more
difficult,
difficult,
yeah.
Not compliant for that.
Yeah. Okay.
So set up an appointment.
Yeah, if you want to submit a support ticket and then go through the creative services path and say I was in this this session, they wanted to request I want to find more about CSS buttons.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that path, what that would do is kind of alleviate the frustration of trying to make it through programs that are meant to make buttons for the web.
And that's what I don't mind. I just want it to be clear.
Yes.
It's not clear, it's blurry.
And you'll work with us as far as making a button that would make sense color-wise, size-wise, for your site as well. So the one thing is to kind of get the colors right for your site as well. Yes?
I think there was a program that somebody used to create buttons for me that was free, and I think it was called GIMP.
GIMP.
G-I-M-P.
I think so. I haven't used
New
GIMP for making buttons.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Pardon?
Yeah, it is called GIMP.
Isn't it
I
GIMP?
think it's GIMP.org.
GIMP.org, and it's a free program that you can make buttons.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you. That's what
G-I-M-P.
Okay.
So I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So on our site, I am trying to figure out how I can use hyperlinks into my, like for instance, when you go over to my exhibit site, when you go over the booth, I want to be able to see who I sold that booth to. Is
Okay.
there a way that I don't know nothing about codes?
Right.
I'm going to try my best to write it down. Is there a way that we can use something to click on it when I go over to say sold the booth to Texas Pharmacy Association?
So for example, you want someone to click on a link and then the user...
I want them to go to my website and go to my exhibit hall
Right.
and hover over a booth number and know who I sold it.
Oh, who you sold it to, yeah. That I'm trying to think how exactly, okay. Man in the back
When you
knows.
create your when you create your link in the WYSIWYG editor, there's a space for title. If you put the title in there, when you hover over it, it'll pop up the title, and you can put whatever you want to in there.
So when I create my, say it one more time.
When you go to the WYSIWYG editor and you click the link button, there's a little modal that pops up and allows you to type in all the information. I believe there's a title. There's a title attribute in there. And you just fill in this will take you to blah, blah, blah. And so when you hover over that, that'll pop up as a little tooltip. And I think it works in IE 8 and above. I don't know if 7 and 6 do that very well, but IE 9 and above, Firefox and Chrome all recognize the title tag.
Cool. Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Yes?
You've shown us several sites that have menus going across the top and going across the side. So it's my understanding that you want to use one or the other, not both.
Right, right. And then why is it like this? Yeah, it's an older site, and I think certain standards.
The last one we were on had the same thing as well.
This one right here, right? The Business Solutions and
If you
Associations.
look at Texas, they've got a new template. It's just
Yeah, I agree. One or the other, not both. But generally, I tend to lean towards the one at the top right here, because a lot of sites are already heading this direction, and also as far as making it global throughout the page. Start here, here's your navigation, and that's basically it. You don't have to worry about reading to the left and so on.
You want to try AZPA?
No.
Why not?
Why not?
Now, what's the website?
AZPA.
That one?
AZPA.
Okay, you can do theirs.
So typically what happens here is that and this is kind of indicative of people going to Amazon and things like that. The navigational structure is horizontal. There is some, the upper top right-hand corner is kind of a, it's not navigation in context, it's navigation in action. So there are two types of navigations. There's an action navigation and there's a content navigation. So actionable navigation and content. So people are looking more and more these days for how Google does it, how Amazon, Yahoo, those big portal sites. The top right-hand corner is pretty much reserved for actionable navigation, and then down below is where you get into more content-oriented navigation. And so what this site has done is kind of split the difference between that. So their main navigation is a horizontal, but they also have a left side for other referenceable material. So that's an example where it does work. We are seeing a lot more of a pure horizontal main navigation for content, and then maximizing the screen, the real estate for the home page to be more of actionable items. And then once you get in, there's a sub-navigation on either left or right-hand side. And there was one page, I think Texas Pharmacy, if you go to the sub-page there, something I want everyone to be aware of, in your templates, you can just pull that tab up, Texas Pharmacy. Something to be aware of is that when you have really long pages, your third tab there, if you go to, one thing to think about is, go to, you went to, I think it was education. So this is a good example. So you see the left hand, there's a sub navigation that's telling me, okay, this is what else is under that tab about TPA. And so I get an idea of what that is. I can't remember what page it was. There was a page you pulled up that was just this really long bit of information. Maybe it's resources.
Okay.
But you always want to make sure if there's multiple content, or if there's a lot of, if it's a huge page, then you might want to split that up into categories so people can get an idea of where they're going before they actually go there. So I don't have to scroll. Maybe it's something I'm interested in, maybe it's not something I'm interested in, I don't know. But if it's nothing else, you could just anchor link to the bottom of the page or something to help you quickly get there so I don't have to scroll. Because as Matt said earlier, we don't read, we scan for things that I want to read. So what's an RX expert, meet our leaders, those are great things. Like, okay, now I know what's in the about TPA. So something to consider, just don't put everything in one page, break it up. I know it's a little more work on y'all's end, but for the user experience, it's much easier for them to pick and choose what they want to see. And you're telling them what it is. It's almost like when you have people give directions to your house, you tell them how to get to your house. You don't just say, oh, well, find your own way, right? Because eventually they'll get there, but it takes them longer. You might know shortcuts, or you might know ways that will simplify their journey to your house. And that's kind of the same principle here is, you need to tell people where you want them to go and give them as much information up front so they're not guessing.
Cool, thanks. And I think I have about time, but maybe gotta give some time for Matthew to hand out some evaluations. Be honest if you like, great. If you have questions afterwards, I have one more presentation after this I have to rush to, but I'll be free after that, and I'll also be free for lunch. You can track me down and say, hey, can you look at my site? Can you tell me, give me some advice for this and that, and what do you think? And you can check out gimp.com and see how that works. Okay, thanks everybody.